All right, we're here with Mike Wassenar, the Executive Director from St. Paul Neighborhood Network. What's one of the most interesting things that you have gathered from the conference? Or what did you come here to hope to get?
You know, I came here basically to connect with different people who are driving a lot of work in both new media developments as well as a lot of digital literacy initiatives and broadband development across the country. So the thing about the National Media Reformer Conference is that basically it's an intersection of people who are doing work at the government level on policy or funding initiatives, as well as practitioners who are doing education work in local communities, people who are media practitioners, people who are like teaching people how to do media, do storytelling, people who are working on diversity issues in media, and then also people who are just activists, people who are just community members who care deeply about making sure that the media system is more responsive to American needs, more reflective of life in our communities. So you meet a wide range of people here, and it ends up being a great opportunity to think about new possibilities for either the work that you're doing on the ground back home, or it gives you an opportunity to see the great developments that other people are doing across the country. And because there's all sorts of really interesting work going on. And I think that the thing that's kind of interesting for me is that a lot of it's hidden because it's done either in the nonprofit sector or it's done in the government sector, and there's not necessarily a PR agency that's working to try to promote that work. Or in some cases it's being done in the academic areas, in academic institutions around the country. And again, you don't have PR firms that are trying to sell soap on a lot of the initiatives that are happening. They're really very important. And I think it'll be very, very important in the future lives of all of us. What
do you mean? What do you mean trying to sell soap?
Well, I mean, if you run a nonprofit, the odds of you having a PR agency promoting your work are low. Primarily because most of your resources are going into the programming work that you do to be able to either educate people how to create media, or in some cases what you're doing, you know, like the UpTake does, you're creating media for people to consume, for people to use. You're trying to provide information that's useful for people, and you're not spending, you know, 10, 15% in terms of your overall revenues to try to promote the fact that you're doing great work. That's kind of a structural problem for a lot of us in this work. We don't really do a good job telling our own stories. So I think there's a lot of us here who are really trying to find better ways to talk about the successes that have been happening in local communities, talk about the great education work that has been happening in radio, in TV, in access media around the country. Some of the legislative successes, there have been very few legislative successes, but you know, the passage of the Community Radio Act this last year has been has an enormous possibility for the lives of people in both rural and urban communities who can actually build radio stations that are actually responsive to community needs. Big, big, huge win for people working in media reform. You wouldn't know it because it's not, you know, it's not in the headlines. It's not going to be covered by Fox and MSNBC and CBS.
No, so we have to cover it ourselves.
Well, that's exactly right, and I think that ends up being sort of a consistent theme that you see here is either the ability for us to talk about our successes or the inability for us to conceive that we can be successful. You know, I mean, very often I think nonprofits and community-based institutions are very, very resource challenged. They're constantly thinking about how to get more money in the door or how to put things together, rather than thinking about, you know, how to make things work and then build on your success and then trumpet your success. You know, I mean, and just, you know, I don't mean to be a shameless shill for the UpTake, but I remember when, you know, the thing was being put together, and it was very much sort of rubber bands and, you know, trying to get cameras together and trying to find ways to make things work. And now, you know, you're doing live streaming from events, you know, that have an international reach, right? I mean,
live television.
You guys had nothing to do with that, actually. So, but you know what I'm saying. So, I mean, I think it's just one success story. There's many success stories out there in terms of really important work that's happening to teach people how to engage with one another in a digital environment. Lots of great work happening there. Teach people how to create media that's meaningful, do storytelling that's meaningful, teach people how to create media systems that are actually responsive to community needs, actually make people active citizens as they're thinking about the media environment in the first place. Lots of great success stories, and we just need to keep thinking about them as we're doing our work.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Talk to you soon.